close friend's wife seemingly hates me. Is there a way to salvage our friendship? I've 37M been friends with my buddy, let's call him Joe, for a decade now. He and I have a ton in common, and at one point we spoke daily, pretty much all day. My wife, 35F, got along with his wife, let's call her Jane, very well. We stayed at each other's homes often, we lived in different states for a while, went on vacation together, just a great couple's friendship. Well, Jane seemingly out of the blue had some sort of crisis 3 years ago. She convinced Joe to sell their house, move to an apartment 5 states away, to the same city we live in. Quit his job of 6 years and find new work in a new state, and take care of all of the financial load while she would not work or even get a driver's license at age 34. Joe is also a musician, and he was cutting an album during all of this with musicians in between states. Needless to say, he pretty much had an anxiety attack from the stress while Jane was jobless and posting on Instagram about her new fabulous life. Every time we saw Jane after this, she was very different. Badmouthed everyone, complained about everything, the whole conversation revolved around her. She put Joe down in front of us, and just all around arrogant and unpleasant to be around. Then 2 years ago we all went out for drinks, and there must have been a perceived slight, because Jane never really spoke to us again after, other than to screw my wife out of money. I invited him out or to our home over and over again. Kept getting blown off. Jane commissioned my wife for an art piece, my wife is an artist, and then Jane ghosted her, so we have a useless painting for a client, that we will never use. Whatever the reason, it's clear that Jane has hated my wife and I for 2 years and running because we live 20 minutes apart, and she won't even let Joe tell us their address. Joe clearly wanted to keep our friendship going, I don't even know if he has other friends here, and we would still speak frequently despite everything. He has confessed to getting drunk in his apartment by himself on the weekends while his wife was out doing who knows what. But every time I would invite us to hang, he would get excited, check in with Jane, and then we would get ghosted. The straw that broke the camel's back is when he said they had no family or friends to celebrate Thanksgiving with, so we invited him to our home. Again, he had to ask Jane, and of course we got ghosted. They ended up getting takeout. So I'm at the end of my rope. Joe is my good buddy and a great person, but his wife has made him blow me off for 2 years now. I'm pushing 40 and I'm way past my limit with these high school games. Is there any way to salvage this relationship, or should I just throw in the towel and cut them both out of my life? TL.Dr. Close friend's wife turned on me, and now I don't know if I should be friends with the two of them anymore. Cutting off a partner from their friends can be a sign of abuse. Certainly it sounds like she has him pretty well isolated in that flat. Let Joe know that you're there for him if he needs you. Maybe see if he's able to meet up somewhere outside of the flat, like for a walk in the park or a quick coffee. Joe is in an abusive relationship. Start inviting just him. Encourage him to come by himself regardless of how Jane feels about it. Sounds like Jane is actually a garbage person but sucked your friend in wearing her mask, which eventually slipped, they always do, and now you see the real her. If this is the person she lets friends see, imagine how she treats your friend. I hope you're in a position to help your pal out when he's ready to leave, which might take a while because of how abusers like Jane get their hooks into their victims. Jane is isolating your friend from the people who care about him, because she is a trashy, manipulative husk of a human being. Don't lose your friend to her. Be sneaky lads, like at high school. Nip out for a drink together like old times, and have him open up to you. Definitely get him alone and away from that toxic human. I bet she's even cheating on him. If you've got money you're willing to spend, hire a pie to follow her. Finding evidence of her being unfaithful could be the kick in nuts he needs to get him pissed off enough to dump her ass. Let this be a lesson, folks. Men actually suffer from domestic abuse and sexual assault at similar rates to women, and that women are just as likely to be perpetrators as victims. Regardless of gender, abuse is abuse and no one deserves to suffer it in silence. I totally get that you're over the bullshit, and it definitely takes a toll on you to some degree to keep Joe in your life, but if you really care about him, don't just cut him out. You might be his last lifeline. A lot of the other comments here have some great advice about communicating with him. I encourage you to explore that first. Sounds like Joe is in a financially and emotionally abusive relationship. Jane is abusing him and making him hate his life. You guys need to forgive him for the behavior of the past and reach out to help get him out of this relationship. Try meeting him on your own without wives. Speak with your wife beforehand. Talk these things through. Joe is a big boy. If he is being manipulated by her, it's on him. It's his life. We all live with consequences of choices, or in his case bad choices. The olive branch has been extended many times, and now it's time to find some real friends. Be there for him. His wife is abusive, he's going to need all the friends he can get. So it sounds like Jane is walking red flag. Your friend is more than likely being abused. My suggestion: just keep being there for him. I know it's frustrating and it'll be hard, but sooner or later that dam is gonna burst and Joe will need help. Call him on a regular basis, say once a week, to check on him, see how he's doing. I doubt she'll let him go out anywhere, so for now just settle for checking on his well-being. Helping someone get out of an abusive relationship is hard, but getting him out is all worth the while. Dude, keep extending the olive branch. We all need friends, and you're a good bud to stick out the invites even though they're constantly shot down. His wife seems to be quite unpleasant. The red flags are drinking alone in his place while he has no idea what his wife is doing. I wouldn't be surprised if there was an affair. Have you invited Joe out, just the two of you? Maybe a lunch during the workday, so it isn't even something that would necessitate checking in with one's wife for. Ask him what the deal is. Offer him an open ear and support. Joe needs to decide what he wants. If Jane doesn't like you and his priority is only doing what Jane approves of, then your friendship may be doomed. He needs to work within his relationship to make sure he's getting what he wants out of life. Has she been diagnosed with anything? Sounds weird how someone can apparently change so much. Either that or she was good at hiding it. Can you try to reach out to him for you to do something just by yourselves without the wife's? Like lunch together, or meet at a bar, or playing online with each other if that's your thing. This is a Jane problem. She sounds abusive, manipulative, and is actively isolating your buddy. She's going out of her way to be mean to you, disrespect your wife, and put down Joe. Spend no more energy on this woman. Try to be there for your friend, and when he's ready, he'll leave this abusive marriage. Is it possible to do things with just your buddy? Have some guy bonding time. She is turned off from these couple get-togethers for some reason. Is it possible you've said something derogatory about Jane to your friend and he told her about it? That could explain why she's no longer interested in hanging out with you guys. He sounds like he's in an abusive relationship. Poor guy. Try to meet him during work, lunch, after work, etc., times where you can come to him for the two of you. Ask him what's going on then, and be there for him when he eventually gets tired of being controlled by his wife and ditches her. Poor guy, IDK, why he is choosing to stay with this evil person. Be honest, Joe, something weird had happened with Jane. I'm not sure what, as I always felt we'd been close in the past. Unfortunately, whatever has happened has made it very difficult to be your friend, as we always end up ghosted when we try and interact with you. I'm not sure this is going to work going forward, but I genuinely care about you and want you to know that if anything ever changes, your friend is still here. Likely as not, he's dying to vent about Jane anyway, and you may be opening the door to him starting to resolve the situation. Sounds like she has some mental health issues that need to be addressed. Unless that's solved first, then nothing will change. Take a hint, man, you're not meant to be friends with this dude. You mention you wonder if Joe has any friends. Do you? 'Cause if you did, you would have moved on by now. Hi. Whilst I totally agree with the abuse thing, there is something else that really worries me. Why force her husband to move states? It could be abuse, it might even be violent, but what if she has been having an affair or just caused so much trouble she had to move states? If you can afford it, then have a pie, check her out, there is some dirt here. Restraining orders, employment problems, an affair or criminal activity. And #X200B. She cannot afford her secrets to get out, so she hides and hides him too. She might have a huge red flag secret, a red flag so big that it should be flying above the Kremlin. Tell him to get off the bottle and use the saved money to buy a spine. Everything should flow as it should from that point. Joe is in an abusive relationship, plain and simple. Please listen to everyone here telling you to talk with him. Maybe he knows what's happening is abusive, maybe he doesn't, but regardless, he needs his friend to be there for him. Signed, someone who was Joe a few years ago. I just let him know you're around and there for him when he wants to see you. She's forcing him to isolate. It's abuse. Be there when he's ready. Or maybe he doesn't like you and chose to move in with his partner and support her. Maybe you should get his address, look him up or her up, surely they must be listed. And just show up on a day you know she isn't there. Or make plans with Joe and meet somewhere else without her. Or have him at your place again without her. She doesn't need to be in the equation if she is dead set against spending time with you. Have you directly addressed the issue of abuse? Because that's exactly what's happening here. Check out lists of signs and significant otherwise abusive, because this matches a lot of the items, pretty much everything but physical abuse, that you know of. It's worth having the coming to Jesus moment where you talk to him, ideally in person but over video call if you must, where you tell him that you're worried about him in stronger terms than you ever have before. Sounds like he been manipulated by his wife. I would go out to drink with him for the last time and tell him the truth he been not trying to see. He need to stand up for himself or else he would go on depression and what else. This type of abuse from a woman can be so horrible, and because it may not get physical to the point where Joe feels he's in real danger, he will likely keep allowing it. You need to keep fighting for him and let him know that if he himself, Joe, does not push or force her into some kind of therapy couples or together, give her an ultimatum, or won't just leave her, she will painstakingly ruin everything in his life. Convincing him he needs to give her an ultimatum could be what saves his life. You should arrange to meet him one-on-one for something lower pressure than Thanksgiving, like a coffee, so he won't have to consult or invite his wife. Then maybe you can point out that shit's fucked. If he disagrees, there's probably not much else you can do. This sounds like isolation that abusers do. The only thing that I think Joe's wife faced is mental health narcissist. She need to go to professional mental health doctor to heal that. Sounds like he married a woman that should be single. Poor Joe. Ladies and gentlemen, this woman named Jane is a devil. The moment someone acts like they're living the fabulous when she didn't do jack squat is just straight up sad. I would have grilled this demon. Something is going wrong here. Joe's wife is acting like the classic abuser, isolating him from his friends, family, and co-workers, INCL, by making him move. If you can, you've got to get him to talk about what's going on and or what happened 2 years ago. Ask him on one of your calls what the real deal is. Man to man, I've known you 10 years. What exactly does your wife have against us? Hey, so first things first, shitty situation. Sounds like you're all in a tough spot. To be honest, I'm not entirely surprised she doesn't want to hang out with you. It's pretty clear you don't like her. While the dislike sounds totally valid, do you like spending time with people that don't like you? With regards to your friend, I would keep phone contact where you can. My brother has been doing it tough in the last couple of years and we'd sort of lost touch outside of family gatherings. I made an effort to catch up with him one-on-one and it made such a difference. We now talk every 6 weeks or so for an hour or more, and if he's feeling especially shit he knows he can message me and we can chat. I think you could still be this for your friend and at least stay in each other's lives. I think the title should say, I hate my best friend wife and don't know how to handle it. If you think you've been disguising your distaste for this woman, you should know that you haven't, and she's likely reacting to you. If your friendship with your friend is important enough, you'll have to tolerate her, warts and all. If not, you could slowly wean off the friendship with them. It happens, people grow apart in adulthood and you can make new friends who you share more values with and don't feel so uncomfortable around. Even if your friend is in an abusive relationship, he's an adult and there's not much you can do about it, other than be there once in a while without hurting your own quality of life. I'm concerned Joe is being abused. Leaving an abusive relationship is very difficult because abusers cut their partners off from their support systems by forcing them to move away and abandon their friends, so the partner has no one to rely on aside from the abuser. It really sucks, but all you can do is tell him that you will not continue to reach out to him since he keeps ghosting you, but if he ever needs you for anything at all, you will always be there for him, and if he ever needs help he should know he is not alone, that you and your wife are there to help him anytime. Then leave the ball in his court. I feel awful for you both. Jane sounds like a nightmare. Damn dude, that's brutal. Find a time when she's not around to let him know what you see from the other side. He may not like it, or it may be exactly what he needs to hear. Life is too short to be with someone who treats you like that and refuses to contribute to anything, and hopefully you can open his eyes. I think that you should make it clear to him. That whenever he has time. Be that tomorrow, 2 years from now, or a decade from now. That you want to see him and be friends. And that if he can't right now, that's okay. And let it be. He will find his way out eventually. James sounds like a textbook abuser, and it also sounds like she's a serial cheater too. I wouldn't be shocked if she moved him to get away from her app who was going to say something to Joe. Get him one-on-one and see if he talks. He's floundering and clearly needs help. All you can do is keep in touch with Joe from a distance and let him know that you are there for him whenever he needs you and is ready. He will keep choosing his wife over you until such time as he finally breaks. You will then need to help him pick up the pieces. Don't try and force the friendship to stay alive. This will just cause Joe more problems with his controlling wife. Stay in the background where only Joe knows where you are for him. Joe needs his bro to help him out, it seems. You may have to be clever and conniving in order to figure out how to get to see him in person, but this sounds like a classic case of abuse. She is keeping him alienated from the support that he needs and is very likely off doing things she shouldn't be while he supports her completely. He needs you, my dude. I just straight up ask him what we did to offend his wife. You trying to be friendly, but at the end of the day you can only take so much ghosting. Joe needs help, that's why he's telling you this stuff. He feels he can't stand up to his wife. Invite Joe over alone and discuss it all with him. Your friend is in an abusive relationship. I'd reach out and talk to him.